Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Glow Podcast. I am here today with a very exciting guest. I have Amy from Proov, and I'm super excited to speak with her. But before we get started, if you are new here, we are Tailored Marketing, and we partner with organizations in health, wellness, and longevity space to fuel growth through strategic marketing and sales strategies. So if you're interested, drop a comment below. Amy, thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited to speak with you. If you would, I would love if you would just go ahead and give a little bit of an introduction so the listeners know who you are.
Yeah, my name is Amy Beckley, and I founded the company Proov after I went through the shit show that is our healthcare system and how broken it is for women's health. Something that could have been solved with a $10 prescription cost me $50,000 in IVF, 7 miscarriages, and 3 years of my life I can't get back.
Crazy.
And so I just want to educate and empower women with solutions. I'm a scientist, I have a PhD in pharmacology. I love figuring out how things work, and we didn't know how hormones worked, and so
I feel like a lot of times you don't know what a shit show the healthcare system is until you go through something like what you did. Like you kind of hear stories, but a lot of times it really does take like a personal experience for you to be like, okay, there has to be a better way to go about this, right? Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure as you went through your personal experience, you probably did like research seeing like, okay, other women are also going through this issue. And so what kind of like big gap, I guess, did you find in our healthcare system that you are trying to solve with Proov?
It was an information gap. I mean, like I would go in there and I would just trust that the doctors had all the tools that they needed. They knew all the the recent information, and it was just not true because so many people that are publishing new things and coming out with new tests and just new stuff that like when I stopped kind of just trusting this one doctor to know everything and started realizing that's just a person and I'm a person, and how can I empower myself with the knowledge so we can kind of have better conversations, that's kind of where it really unlocked for me. I mean, I was diagnosed with unexplained infertility. That's the leading cause of infertility. That is pathetic.
That's true.
That millions of couples have unexplained. Like, come on. We live in a world where we should be explaining it. We should have tests. We should have diagnostics. Because if you're expected to drop your life savings on procedures that really aren't covered under healthcare insurance, like you gotta uncover all the rocks and figure it out.
We need someone to be telling us, especially like you said, if you're spending like $50,000, it shouldn't be unexplained. Like there should be an explanation for like, okay, this is what's happening, this is how we fix it, this is what you can do, this is what we will do for you, because like you said, I mean, you shouldn't have to spend that much money to get those kinds of answers either. It should be accessible for people, right?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I was the why kid. My mom would say something, I'd be like, why? And she'd say something, but why? And she'd say something else, and then by why? Because shut up. And I wanted to know why. Like, why is the sky blue? Why does this happen? Why do I have to do that? Why do I have to do that? To really, understand things. And if you think about healthcare the same way, healthcare doesn't care about the why. It just cares about how to fix it, right? Because it's not really healthcare. They're not trying to keep you healthy. It's disease care. They're caring for your diseases. We don't really care how you got that disease, but that here's this thing that's going to fix it. And so things like IVF, a lot of procedures are to fix it, to remove the gallstone, the cancer, the whatever, to fertilize in a tube and then implant it, right? So we're bypassing our natural systems to fix the problem. Healthcare's not designed to know why. But if you step back, knowing why is so important for your health. It's going to help you understand so that you can maintain living a healthy lifestyle. So when a new symptom comes out, you're like, oh, I learned that trouble sleeping was one of the first symptoms of perimenopause. I just turned 45 today. I need to go talk to my doctor about this and that and the other thing, because I don't want it to get to hot flashes causing me to lose work or important meetings. And so that's why the why is important, and having these things where we can track our health is important, because again, healthcare is designed for you're already diseased and sick to fix it, not designed to
Yeah,
keep you
no,
healthy.
for sure. And I feel like, yeah, it just sometimes like takes certain things for people to like realize that, because it's so true that like we do live in a society where our healthcare is, like you said, disease care rather than healthcare. Like we don't have any sort of prevention, or like you're not going to talk to your doctor before you go through menopause or before you have fertility issues. It's like after the fact of the issue. And it would be better if we could stop those things before they happen. That would be ideal, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then I also want to say there is no
Yeah.
answer. There is no one size fits all for every single person. It's options. And, people are throwing out this like, well, that's not evidence-based medicine. And we follow evidence-based medicine here. What evidence? What studies? Because there's probably a study that shows that
Yeah.
bananas cause cancer, but do they really cause cancer? No. But one guy did. There is evidence that shows that, right? And so it's really important that, not every single person needs X medication or X procedure. That might be right for one person, but maybe it's not right for you. There's multiple different pathways and avenues that you can take, but it really starts with the
Yeah.
education. So like, I'm an active Aura user, tracking this, getting the metrics, having a pulse on it, measuring hormones through Proov, getting blood tests with like Function Health or whatever, just keeping a pulse on yourself and how you're feeling, so that when you have a problem or go in for your annual, you can kind of pass that information and have an
Yeah.
active
No, that's such a
conversation.
good point too. It's like taking accountability as well for your own health, with like knowing, like you said, using your aura or using things like a proof test and kind of going into that. Could you talk just like a little bit more to prove and the testing and like what you provide for people with the testing that y'all are doing?
Yeah, yeah. So it was a urine-based test that monitors hormones across the menstrual cycle. And why that's important is that a single blood test can miss a lot of things that single blood test can miss a lot of things that your hormones are doing. So your hormones
Yeah.
fluctuate through the cycle. And so at the beginning of the cycle, all your hormones are low. Estrogen increases, comes back down. Progesterone increases, come back down. And so unless you want to get a whole bunch of blood tests to see these changes, you're not going to be able to see the full picture. And so when you go into a doctor's office, you do a blood test,
Yeah.
like one
Yeah.
time for the whole year? Here's your levels. You're missing these fluctuations. Well, these fluctuations that are causing your symptoms. It's these fluctuations that affect your ability to conceive, to carry a pregnancy, to manage PCOS, to diagnose endometriosis, all these other things. And so we built a urine-based platform that uses just your phone camera and a test strip. It looks just like a pregnancy test. You scan it in every day and it reads your hormones. It builds the profiles. It gets patterns and it says, okay, this is optimal or this is not optimal. These are what medications can help you get back to an optimal cycle. Here's supplements, here's lifestyle things. And so it's really defining a healthy menstrual cycle and where you fit within this, and then giving you options on how to promote an optimal
Okay,
menstrual
cool.
cycle.
That's super cool. And I really like that it also gives you options for like how to promote, like, okay, say we're trying to conceive, like does it also give you suggestions for like, okay, this is how you could kind of optimize maybe your fertility and things like that too?
Yeah, the biggest market we're in
Yeah.
right now is fertility. And so a lot of times women think that the only reason to measure hormones is to know when you're fertile, to time intercourse. We do that. Plus we look at all these different factors and ratios and what hormone went up and for how long and all kinds of things, and pull a bunch of analytics off of it to find any of these imbalances that are causing your inability to be able to carry a
Yeah.
child to term. And that's just a new concept, because we've always been told just measure hormones to know when you're fertile. But there's just a lot more kind of to it. those same imbalances that cause a woman to be infertile are also what we're seeing cause PMS, what we're causing symptoms of PCOS, the early indicators of perimenopause, which are happening, late 30s, early 40s. And so there's just very signature patterns of hormones that are like, this is an off cycle. Here's what you want to do to fix it. And there's different ways to do it. So typically our fertility consumer is the most what's the word I'm looking for? They're the most like,
Yeah.
I need it now. Impatient. That's the word I'm looking for. Because they were on birth control and they finally got their ducks in a row. They're ready to have, they're ready to conceive, and it's not happening. It's not happening. And it's like the worst feeling in the human. It's just so horrible. Infertility is, I never wish anybody infertility. But these are the ones that really want fast solutions. These are the medications, but people who are dealing with perimenopause, this is going to be their life for 15 years. They'd rather find lifestyle things, supplements to help, and they're deathly scared of hormones because of all the evidence-based medicine that says this, then the other thing, then there's this guy, girl, and this, like, it's just a headache. And someone told them one time that it causes cancer, so they're not doing it. So they're looking for herbals and things to kind of naturally manage. So it really depends on what life stage you're at, where you are in your journey. But we give options, right? We put her in the driver's seat of her health by giving her this information, and then she can figure out what option is right.
No, I think that that's really, really important. And you talked like a little bit too to hormonal imbalances that women are going through, and that's kind of what you all are helping to identify for them, and then giving them certain options, for what they can do to kind of help with these hormonal imbalances. And what are some things that like people can avoid or add to their lives before getting to that point where it's like, okay, I'm not going to have to go through these hormonal imbalances?
Yeah, I mean, anything you put in your body, in it, like eat it, put it on your body, cosmetics, affects your hormones. And so, eating out of plastics, microwaving in plastic, processed food, high sugar, inflammatory, like all the things are bad for you. They're bad for you and your hormones. It's not. A lot of people know this. Following it is another story, I think. But let me back up and tell you what a hormone actually is, because it's quite fascinating. Hormone imbalance isn't really a medical term. It's not something like doctors are like, oh, we diagnosed with the hormone imbalance. And people are like, oh, the supplement industry made this up, and hormone imbalances. And like you hear on TikTok, this cortisol storm and cortisol face. And like, everyone's like, oh, the supplement company is scamming you.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means. Anyways.
That is what everyone's going through right now.
Yes. So hormone imbalances are 100%. And I'll tell you what a hormone does so you can kind of understand this. So a hormone is a tiny, tiny molecule that tells one organ in your system to do something, and it came from another organ in your system. So a brain telling your ovary to function, your brain telling your body you're hungry, so you should eat, right? And so these things become dysregulated. You aren't able to maintain a healthy body weight. You aren't able to ovulate. There are imbalances within your system that are telling your body not to do certain things. And how they really work is you have these little cells that make proteins, and what the hormones do, it gets in, it changes the makeup of the cell to make it do a certain thing for a certain period of time. And so if you don't have as much of this hormone and you have too much of another hormone, something's getting pumped out over here and not enough over here. And so you can see the scale is kind of in balance. So that's kind of where it came from. A normal, optimal, healthy ovulatory cycle, as far as we know, you should have equal amount of time under estrogen dominance than you should in progesterone dominance. And so what estrogen does is it makes a whole bunch of proteins and makes your body do a certain thing. And then progesterone comes in and does a whole bunch of things and makes your body do a certain thing, but they balance each other out. So it's yin, yang, back, forth, back, forth. As you go, the most typical problem that women have is they're making estrogen, they're not making progesterone. So there's a fizzle in the system that causes your brain to shut off, or some imbalance or something preventing progesterone. And so you kind of get this over time. And that is what causes hormone imbalance type symptoms, estrogen dominance, in other words, excess estrogen. It's not really that you have too much estrogen per se, it's that it's not getting balanced by the progesterone. The same thing is infertility, it's inability to hold a pregnancy, it's PMS, it's what's happening in PCOS. And they're all different mechanisms of why it's happening, but that is the end result of what is happening and why you're having certain
that makes sense. And is it not as simple as like taking progesterone orally or like using something like that? Like, does that not, I guess, interact with your body in the same way that like, because I know sometimes oral medicine or oral supplements and things, they're not able to really do, I guess, what the progesterone naturally occurring in your body can do.
Yeah. So sometimes it's a fix and sometimes it's not. It depends on how far on that teeter-totter you are. So if you're not making any progesterone, there's something like in a normal menstrual cycle, you have enough estrogen, the egg gets released, and then you make progesterone. If you're not making any progesterone, your egg probably didn't release. So if you're just giving yourself progesterone, you're not going to get pregnant because the egg couldn't get out to get fertilized and turn into a baby. The hormones are produced in your body. They go straight into your blood. They don't have to pass through your digestive system. So there's different routes of entry. You can get them injected into your muscles, which is the most, I guess, bioidentical to what your body would make. There's vaginal delivery, there's anal delivery, there's oral, there's transdermal, there's all kinds of things. And then there's how much was your estrogen? How much progesterone do you need? Are you resistant to progesterone? What kind of symptoms are you trying to solve? Like, there's just so many intricacies. Again, there's no like, every single woman needs to take 75 milligrams of estrogen and 200 milligrams. No.
It's completely different for everyone too. Probably like what's going to work for one person might not work for another. And these lifestyle changes might work for one person, might not work for another person. It's so individualized. And that's why I feel like with Proov, women are probably using it like over and over again to like kind of measure like, okay, I started at this level. This is where I'm at now. Like, okay, I made this change. It's almost like a kind of like testing process with Proov to be like, okay, I made this change. There's no change to the hormones. Let's try something else, kind of.
That's a little more DIY than I think the average person has capacity
probably
or desire to do. So, I mean, it would be amazing if we all turned into scientists and we can all geek out at each other about our estrogen levels and that. The reality is we have way too many things to think about in this world. And so what Proov does is we score cycles. So just like an Oura Ring or a Fitbit or whatever gives you like a sleep score or an activity readiness score, whatever. We score your cycle, and then that score helps us determine what kind of medications would best be suited for that person. It goes through our medical side of the business. So there's different patterns that do certain things. They get different scores. And then based off of that score, we know, okay, that medication can fix certain thing. And so we don't expect everyone to have a PhD in pharmacologies and then like figure it all out. It's like, oh yeah, cool. That's nice. Okay. Give me the easy button. Tell me what it all means and tell me what I need. That's really how we tried to design it, was to give you the data and access and then crunch all the numbers for you and spit out, here's your solution.
That's a lot easier than what I said.
I mean, there's nothing more I like than just get on a call with somebody and go through their hormone charts.
Yeah, and not everybody wants to do that or has the time either. Yeah, no, for sure. That totally makes sense. And how do you guys sell them currently right now? Is it primarily on your website, Amazon? And then do you also sell like through like an OBGYN or like doctors as well? Or is it primarily direct to consumer?
It's majority of it is direct to consumer. I mean, tests like this aren't covered under health insurance. They are like FSA, HSA. Anything you do at home is not true healthcare apparently, so it's not covered under your insurance. And so Amazon and our website are the two
awesome,
super
super cool. Awesome. And what are kind of like the goals over the next year or two? Like, where do you see Proov headed, and what are you guys kind of trying to work towards?
I mean, understanding the menstrual
Yeah.
cycle, honestly, I mean, this impacts 85% of women across their lifetime. I mean, my 12-year-old daughter, like, literally is a disaster for a few days, and you just can't even talk to her because she's in such an emotional, like, state of mind, and she just cries for no reason, and
Yeah.
it's hormones, right? To me as a 20-year-old having such heavy periods and going on all the different kinds of birth control to figure out which one would make
Yeah.
me not bleed, to PMS symptoms, to endometriosis, to PCOS, to fertility, pregnancy, perimenopause. Like, our menstrual cycle is just so intrinsic to our life, and there's multiple touch points that can truly affect our ability for being the badass women that we are. How do we understand the menstrual cycle so we can use it as our superpower and not as something that is pulling us down? And so superpower is, you can take a healthy menstrual cycle and you can function better,
Yeah.
you can lift more, you can run faster, you can be more creative, unlock so many superpowers with a healthy menstrual cycle. Because your menstrual cycle is your fifth vital sign. If your menstrual cycle is healthy, that means that your body is healthy and thriving, and that lets you do all these amazing
Yeah.
things. So that's where
Yeah,
I would
no,
like to
that's
take.
super, super cool. I feel like, yeah, using your menstrual cycle as a superpower. I love that. I think it's so cool because I think it's something that, like, as women, sometimes, like, we look down on or, like, almost ignore, even too, that it's, like, such a part of us. Like you said, our fifth vital sign. Like, and I think just like, yeah, being more aware too of what's going on is so, so important for us and our overall health too.
Yeah, I mean, you spend a very high proportion of your life
Yeah.
bleeding and having a menstrual cycle and going through these changes, that if you can truly unlock that and understand it, like, it's very powerful. It's not something that men have. We have
Unique
this
thing. Yeah.
bonus thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's super, super cool. Well, tell everyone what is the best way to find you? What is the best way to find Proov? I will also include all the links in the show notes as well.
Yeah, our website is proovtest.com, so PROOV test.com. Sign up for our emails, and there's a bunch of education. We have ebooks for both the perimenopause side as well as the fertility side. Instagram, Proov Test, at Proov Test. Education is one of our pillars. Just come in, follow us, get
Yeah.
educated, and just learn. We also are very supportive, and so we never make people have a PhD to understand our results. And so it's either us, our team, or other users of our test who come in and support. And so find our user community on Facebook. It's a private community, so you have to kind of like Proov user
Okay, cool.
community or something
I'll
like that.
I'll find it. I'll include it in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is fun.